What's taters, precious? What's taters, huh?
Potatoes. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. Lovely big golden chips with a nice piece of fried fish. Even you couldn't say no to that.
Oh, yes, we could.
I could cook that. I'll show Smeagol what it's like to make a proper crony stew. What's up, hungry people? Today we're exploring Middle-earth. More specifically, somewhere on the road from Minas Tirith to Minas Morgul, by recreating the stew made by Sam with the rabbits Smeagol caught for Frodo. And he's right. What it needs is a few good taters. So I added some in for good old Samwise Gamgee. We'll start by building the base to our stew with butter and melt it down until it's frothy. Because this stew is based on what Sam could dig for in the wild, we'll use root vegetables like carrots and parsnips, plus forageables like mushrooms and shallots. And of course, a few good taters. Then we'll saute until the onions are just starting to become tender and the potatoes are starting to brown. Give the veggies a bit of seasoning with salt from the Shire, because nothing tastes better than a sprinkle of home. Next, we'll add in our rabbit. I'm using a rabbit saddle, which is a boneless rabbit tenderloin that I chopped down into small pieces. Perhaps unsurprisingly, rabbit tastes like an earthier version of chicken. It is less fatty than chicken though, so it definitely dries out easily. It benefits from a quick sear and a long braise. I'll give it a quick seasoning of salt from the Shire to enhance the gamey flavors. Because we're cooking in a kitchen and not the side of a cliff, we'll have the option to make a rough and simple roux. First, we'll add a bit of flour and stir it into the veggies so that everything is mostly coated in flour. Brown the flour with the veggies until it has formed a thick coating on everything in the pan. I like to imagine that Sam would have eventually recreated this meal at home and enhanced it for a more hobbity feel by adding a flagon of ale from the Green Dragon. The ale will bubble and begin to simmer and thicken as it soaks up the flour. Let it simmer for a few minutes until about half of the liquid has cooked off. And while it's perhaps not canon, let's toss in some dried barley, or as the hobbits would have called it, corn, as a reminder of their home in the Shire, where the crops were abundant and the land fertile. Finally, we can pour in the broth, or water from the brandywine, and bring it to a rolling simmer. I added in a few leaves from LOTR to enhance the flavor, but if you don't have your own elvish leaves, bay leaves will do just fine. Simmer the stew for at least 45 minutes, until the barley has more than doubled in size and is nice and tender. The rabbit meat should have also softened as it cooked. Pluck out the bay leaves before you serve up your stew to fellow weary travelers. This savory soup is packed with earthy flavors that are enhanced by sweet root vegetables and balanced in taste and texture with the help from mushrooms. The barley adds in just enough chewy consistency to make it a hearty stew, perfect to satiate even the hungriest of hobbitses. What fictional feast would you like to see me cook up next? Let me know in the comments. If you liked this video, don't forget to flip that sub button and ring the dinner bell so you can be notified of my latest recipes and foodie adventures that I post almost weekly. Head on over to thestarvingchefblog.com where you can find this recipe and many more with ingredient amounts and step-by-step instructions. I hope you all enjoyed, and they're taking the hobbits to Isengard!